Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Primal Fears. This is a top-down co-op shooter brought to you by DnS Development. Who are DnS Development? Well, they made a game called Dead Horde, and it's pretty relevant to mention this. This is a game that I did cover a little while ago. I did a WTF Is on it. It was not a well-received game. I personally thought it was sort of fairly average run-of-the-mill with no really interesting ideas, with the exception of the vehicles. And along comes Primal Fears a little bit later on, and I started playing a little bit of it, as I usually do, prior to actually doing my first impressions video, just to get a feel for things, make sure I get past the tutorial, of which of course there isn't one, which I'm okay with, because you don't really need a tutorial for shooting stuff, kind of like this. And I thought, hang on a second, this seems very, very familiar. And I went back in and then I suddenly found, hang on, yes, it is the guys that did Dead Horde. And it looks really, really similar to Dead Horde, albeit with a slightly shinier coat of paint. And it really, really is actually very similar to Dead Horde. And let's do a side-by-side comparison. I'm just going to run some footage from my Dead Horde video side-by-side here with the Primal Fears gameplay. And have a look at the UI. And tell me that the way that the health bar and stamina bar is set up is not very, very similar. It's even got the name of the character above it, just like it. Seriously? What? I want to use the shot. Oh my god. Stupid game. Anyway. Tell me that doesn't look really similar. Look at the position of the weapon. In fact, look at the icons. I mean, they're pretty much reusing exactly the same assets there as far as I can tell. Look at the way that the character moves. Yeah, this is the way the character sprints here. It's very, very similar. You can't do the roll you were able to do there. And also, of course, look at the way that the weapons handle. Also very, very similar. It is... I wouldn't say a carbon copy, but it's pretty damn close to what their previous game was. It does have a couple of changes to it, no doubt. The actual number of weapons that you can use is significantly higher, and you also have melee attack right there bound to your right mouse button. But if I'm totally honest, the game just looks incredibly similar to stuff we've seen before from Dead Horde, which wasn't really that good anyway. Now, I wanted to show you the shop, but these guys are going to be an absolute pain in the ass, and unfortunately, they take forever to kill. Oh, God. Yeah, so if you like running backwards, then I do have the game for you. Oh, Christ. My stamina bars arbitrarily ran out after running for 3 feet. I'd love to show you the shop. I don't think the shop pauses when I check it. Let's have a look and see if it does. No, it doesn't. Ah, now I'm cornered. Alright. I don't think I have it. Oh, I have 5 rounds left in my shotty. That may be enough to dispatch this bastard. Just. I'm running very, very low on HP, so let's just kite him around a little bit. Oh, there's another one. Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Go. Oh, wait. Why can't I have stamina back? Oh my god, it doesn't seem like there's actually any way to roll or dodge like there was in Dead Horde, so it's actually even more awkward to get away. Well, often than not, you just have to kind of slip past them and hope that they don't hit you on the way there. I just want to shop. Yeah, it's really that simple. I want to go to the store, and I want to buy something. Will you not let me do that? Will you not let me exercise my rights as a free capitalist citizen? Why is that? You know, there's many kinds of bad zombies, but I feel the socialist zombie is possibly the worst. Funnily enough, they aren't really zombies this time around. I mean, Dead Horde was blatantly a zombie game. This is 95% a zombie game. In fact, it is a reskin zombie game. These are still essentially zombies, but it's gone down the route of games like, say, Killing Floor, as well as to some degree Left 4 Dead, whereby they're kind of specimens, they're sort of mutations, as opposed to just your straight-up run-of-the-mill zombie. Okay, let's go to the store, shall we? Also, very, very similar to the way the Dead Horde works. It has most of the same upgrades down at the bottom here. They've slightly redone the UI, but for the most part, it is a case of you can buy stuff here at the store. You can refill your ammunition, which I will certainly do. And you can buy these linear upgrades down to the bottom, which include firing rate and things like that. And then, of course, you can also purchase different weapons. Currently, I can't actually afford any of them, unfortunately, so I might buy a grenade, though. I'm just going to try and save some money until I can actually get a weapon, because, I don't know, that saw blade launcher does look like it's a little bit of fun. Now, the saw blade launcher might sound fun, but I can tell you for a fact the default weapon certainly isn't. It's what appears to be an M4 or M16, or civilian variant, who the hell cares. And it fires very slowly, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. There's also this problem. Do you enjoy getting stuck in the camera? Well, if you go too close to the wall of a building, you will not be able to see what's going on. Most sensible games will either auto-pan, you can pan yourself, once again very, very slowly as you can see, or they would give you some kind of transparency to show you where your character was relative to everybody else, and that gets around those whole camera problems in these isometric games. They don't seem to have included that, which is unfortunate. But that's a minor concern in comparison to just how flat-out boring most of this game is at the start. The missions drag on for quite some time. Now, I went and read up on this, and apparently this first mission I'm doing right here takes upwards of 40 minutes to finish, which is quite a lot. You know, if I'm playing a zombie game, or I'm playing something which is essentially all about being able to do some quick action every now and again, then honestly, I don't really expect to have to spend a huge amount of time in the mission. Now, this time around, the game has a camp system, whereby it's just a basic hub. You gear up for your mission, and then you pick your mission, and there's also a bunch of arenas there. You can pick different missions, but they're all score-locked, so unless you've done the level prior to that, there's very little chance of you actually getting in there to begin with. The game does also have co-op, although it doesn't have a matchmaking system, which means that you have to find friends that have the game. You can't just go online and look for a game with random people. As to whether or not the game would actually be any fun in co-op, well, I haven't seen any features that would indicate that it would be. The addition of co-op is fairly common these days. It didn't used to be, and it's funny because a lot of us actually really wanted co-op in a lot of different games, but now it seems like co-op is sort of a mandatory inclusion. It's part of the standard boilerplate feature list, and unfortunately, a lot of games really don't get any more interesting if they happen to have co-op in them. I've said this many times before. Playing with friends is always going to be more fun. That doesn't necessarily make the base game any better, though. And in this case, what you have is slow movement, boring shooting, and a game which mostly involves running backwards and forwards and strafing backwards while shooting with your really, really slow, awful gun. Now, I'm pretty sure I had a grenade somewhere. There we go. That should at least deal with some of them. And as you can see, that isn't actually very entertaining at all. In fact, it's extremely dull. I also wouldn't be entirely surprised if this game wasn't properly balanced for solo play, because there are times when there do seem to be a huge number of zombies, and your gun kills them very, very slowly. And I say zombies simply because, you know, there's no real reason not to say that. Also, bear in mind that the game actually is based on a checkpoint system, and the checkpoints are few and far between. You can actually go upwards of 10 minutes before finding a checkpoint, and if there's a sudden pop out of a bunch of these nasty bastards and they surround you, then, well, GG. Unlike Dead Horde, you don't have a roll. Again, as far as I know, you don't seem to have a roll anyway. I'm just gonna double check here. Nope, no roll here. Not a roll to be seen. So I guess that's not really a factor either. So actually getting away from a lot of those packs can be a little bit tricky, especially if your stamina bar runs out and you can burn your stamina bar in about 3 seconds. Why is it that everyone in the zombie apocalypse is ludicrously unfit? I mean, really now. I could run for longer than 3 seconds and I'm not even fit at all. How the hell this... Why is it that this guy can't? I mean, it just boggles my mind. Oh god, I've got to do this thing again. How goddamn annoying. Doing the same encounters over and over again is not all that interesting. At all. I'll try and run to the store before getting horribly murdered and maybe get some more shotgun ammunition so that I can actually fight. Unfortunately, the UI is dumb. It's like, oh, I've got to scroll through these one at a time because, you know, being on a PC, a proper mouse-driven interface would be insane, right? Another crazy, crazy idea. I've got to scroll through these things one at a time in order to find the ammunition. So if you are under attack and you desperately need to grab ammo for your weapon, which in the case of the shotgun burns out ludicrously fast, then good frickin' luck. It's such a dumb system. Maybe I can sneak around there. Oh god. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Buy ammo, buy ammo. There we go. I have ammunition, thank god. I can maybe fight this thing now. Because the shot... Oh, fuck. Bloody hell. This is less than fun. And there's nothing about the game that really seems all that inspired. I've seen a couple of things which are quite cool. Like, the game seems to be a little bit more physics-based than Dead Horde. You can push a lot of stuff around. If you shoot fire extinguishers or gas canisters, they tend to fly around the place and bump into things. Doors bump into terrain objects and interact with them, which is kind of a neat thing, but it doesn't actually add anything to the game. All it says to me is, we had a bit more time to add a little bit more fidelity. I mean, this game looks better than Dead Horde. And it does. It does look better than Dead Horde, but it doesn't play any better than Dead Horde. And Dead Horde wasn't a very good game to begin with, and this game doesn't really appear to have fixed any of that. The pacing is all off. It takes quite a long time to actually get a different weapon, and that would be okay if the default weapons were any good and interesting, but they're not. This is the most boring assault rifle I've ever seen. It fires incredibly slowly. It does barely any damage. This is with 2 damage upgrades, by the way. And it takes forever. I need about 10 shots to kill one of these guys. The bigger guys take several clips. That's not all that entertaining. It's also not particularly well paced in terms of just the speed that your character moves, the speed that the enemies move, and things like that. And I'm okay with these kind of arcadey games. Like if I were to play Nation Red, for instance, that's a really good example of a game that does exactly what this game is doing in an arena environment and does it way better. So much better. It makes fighting much, much more fun. The weapons are more inspired. There's a lot more of them in a short period of time. It is balls-to-the-wall arcade zombie-killing action. And it does what it does really, really well. This is balls-to-the-wall strafing backwards, shooting very slowly action. God. And while there are some nice lighting effects and things like that, the missions just drag on. As regards to the objectives I've had to do, well, you saw the whole get the keycard thing. Well, up to this point, the only other things I've been doing have been blowing holes in the hospital wall with some explosives that you find, and of course you set them by holding down F. And that's been my way to proceed, and that's been dragging on for like about 20 minutes now. And I really don't know why it's dragging on for so long, and why this level is just completely outstaying its welcome. Now, I can understand that this game may be designed to be played in co-op, but I don't think adding co-op makes this game any more interesting at all. I mean, what kind of utility can you really have there? I can perhaps see the possibility that if you could stomach the game for long enough, then you could have each player kind of specialize in a different weapon, and you could have one guy with a minigun, one guy with a flamethrower, and yeah, you know, that seems like it would get reasonably interesting, but this game doesn't do that kind of gameplay as well as other games in the genre. And God, if you think about isometric shooters that do that well, then, you know, stuff like Alien Swarm is a prime example. That's a hell of a lot more enjoyable than this is. The co-op features of the game are much, much more fleshed out. And the game is just nowhere near as dull. It's just... I've got to be honest, I mean, my appetite for zombie games has been at an all-time low maybe for the past year or so, because there have been so many of the bloody things. And this is not making it any better. This is I think my standards for zombie games are now really, really high. You've got to do something really interesting to interest me. And this doesn't. It doesn't do anything interesting at all. It's super generic. It's borderline boring. In fact, no, I'll go as far as to say it just is boring. It is not an interesting game at all. And it's just so ridiculous to note. Freaking hell. Can't run, got no stamina, gonna die now. It's just ridiculous to note how similar it is to Dead Horde. It doesn't even bill itself as a sequel or anything like that. And look how far I actually ran, and this is where the checkpoint is again. So you gotta go back there, you gotta fight the tedious mini-boss fight for about 2 or 3 minutes, make your way through, and then hopefully don't get mobbed horribly. It's laborious, it's tedious, it's uninspired. It's the best way I can honestly describe Primal Fears. And DVS, sorry, what the hell am I talking about? DnS Development doesn't exactly have a particularly good track record. It hasn't made a lot of good games. It's made stuff like Dead Horde, which wasn't well received, Twin Sector, which wasn't well received, Booster Trooper, which wasn't well received. It just doesn't really seem to be a good development house. And I can certainly see some refinements here, but this is the kind of stuff you should kind of release as an update to Dead Horde. Because, like I said, it is pretty much the same game with a new coat of paint, and since the base game wasn't that good to begin with, this really does not impress. It's uninspired. It's dull. It's not worthy of your time. It'll set you back about $10, your regional equivalent, and as I say with pretty much every game, yeah, it's probably better with friends, it's more fun with friends. You know what else is more fun with friends? Watching paint dry. You know what you would be better suited doing? Something else. My name is TotalBiscuit, taking a look here at Primal Fears, available on Steam. I'll see you next time.